Hi, welcome to my Newtopia. I'm Mara. Today is February 21st, 2017. I had VSG surgery on August 15th, 2016 in Greensboro, North Carolina by Dr. David Newman of Central Carolina Surgery. My highest recorded weight was 300 pounds. My surgery date weight was 250 pounds. My weight today is 190 pounds. And I have a cat in my lap. That's a bow. He just really wanted to be held, right as I wanted to do this. So I was going to do my measurements this week and I just didn't get around to it because my husband and I decided to go to the beach for the weekend, which brings me to my first NSV. I climbed a 900, no, not 900, that'd be crazy. I climbed a 95-foot sand dune. The same one that the Wrights brothers first started trying to fly on, which was really cool. I'm going to put a picture in so you can see what it looks like, hopefully. Maybe one from the bottom of the hill and one from the top of the hill. Oh, hi, Bo. We also climbed like a 60-foot dune later on this weekend, and had a pretty good time. Away from the house, away from normal concerns. Didn't have any problems with eating. We only actually ate out 2 meals because we had leftovers, so that was fine. Otherwise, we just ate nuts and other things from gas stations. Actually, I was really surprised. I don't know if you have one where you live, and I actually don't have one where I live, but 7-Eleven has an extreme amount of options for people who don't eat carbs or eat extremely low carbs. Cheese wrapped with meat and different kinds of nuts, and yeah. If you're around 7-Eleven and you need a snack, that's where you should go. Let's see what else. Yeah, I've lost another pound. Once again, not really trying to lose any weight at this point, but it's just happening. There is something that I want to talk about. Regrets. So, for a while, I've been realizing that I regret getting this surgery. Not because I don't like what's happened to my body, losing the weight, getting off the medications, getting off the CPAP machine, feeling healthier and more full of energy and more able to do things without hurting myself, but because I feel like I jumped into it a little too quickly. I've mentioned before, I never actually tried to lose weight prior to having surgery. I think that what I've come to realize just in the last few days is what would have been better for me is if I had actually gone to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a therapist of some sort that specialized in bariatric patients or people with severe obesity or whatever, instead of, like, say, just a general therapist. The one that would have helped me go through and figure out my relationship with food, my overeating, and my form of addiction to food. I think if I had actually identified all those things before having surgery and before being forced to, due to the fact that I can't eat very much, I think I actually would have been better off, and I think that I probably would have been able to lose weight. I mean, hindsight's 20/20 and all that, but I say that if you're a pre-op patient or someone who's just considering surgery, and I don't know if I have any people like that who watch my videos, maybe I do, hopefully I do, try that route instead. You may not realize that you have a food addiction, and I've seen and I've known people who have said that they don't have a food addiction, they don't have a problem with it, but if you get to be 300 pounds like I was, even at 5'8" like I am, that's still a lot of weight for my frame to carry around. That's a lot of weight, and that's a lot of pressure on my internal body. I think that you probably would be good to try out going to a therapist and actually, or even just doing it yourself, figuring out why you do things. If that's journaling, if that's a therapist, if that's talking to a friend, if that's talking to a friend who's had bariatric surgery, if that's going to church, or I don't know what all the options are, but there's got to be a lot of options out there instead of just going into having surgery. because after you have surgery, you have a lot of time to think about these things, and you really do, to have successful results with surgery, you really do need to figure out why you do the things you do and or have done the things you have done. You know, if I had taken the money that I had spent on all the pre-op tests, the thousands of dollars that I had to spend, and spent that money going to see a therapist, I think I really would have been better off. You know, along with the diet that I was already on, the high fat, medium protein, low carb diet, the ketonic diet, I think that I really would have been better off. My other non-scale victory this weekend was where I was, is a town, well, one of the places I was anyway, is a town called Duck, North Carolina, and they're really famous for their donuts. There's a place that started there called Duck Donuts, and it's specialty donuts that you go in and you pick a base donut, and then you pick a topping, a glaze or whatever, and then you pick, you pick your toppings. I think it's like 2 or 3 toppings, and then you get this donut made, and it's just to your specifications. Like I could go in and I could have a cake donut with maple glaze with bacon and chocolate sprinkles. I don't know. And I really wanted this donut because I've never been out there before, and it's like one of the things, like I said, they're famous for. And so, but I didn't go do it. I mean, we went in the store, I looked around, the smell of sugar was so overwhelming that it like made me physically sick just smelling the air. It's like being around a smoker, like a cigarette smoker. Just the smell of cigarette smoke makes me physically sick. Maybe it's because, it's just bad for you, like sugar is, or maybe it's because I'm an ex-smoker. My parents were smokers, my grandparents were smokers, my mother-in-law is a smoker. I have during my life been around a lot of cigarette smoking, so it makes me sick. But that got me thinking about traveling. So this year I'm going on a cruise to the Caribbean, and that's not a problem. I've been on cruises before. I know that it's actually extremely easy to eat a low carb diet when you're on a cruise because there's meat practically everywhere. They almost always have multiple kinds of grills, and just anyway, there's meat everywhere, and you can get it without bread, you can get it without rice, any kind of carbs, and there's vegetables, and there's cheeses, and anyway, lots of stuff. And the last time I was on a cruise, I had actually not started the low carb diet, but I had given up sugar already, and the only thing I ate on that cruise that was sugar was a passion fruit cake, because I love passion fruit. Passion fruit is my favorite thing in the world, my favorite fruit. And you can't really find a lot of things passion fruit, at least not in North Carolina. I mean, if I lived in Hawaii or something, I probably could find a lot more passion fruit. And I had 2 pieces of this passion fruit dessert, and that was it for the whole cruise for sugar. But on the other hand, I'm thinking next year, my husband and I are going on a European cruise, a riverboat cruise from Budapest to Amsterdam, and I was really thinking that maybe I would give up the low carb thing, because while I'm over there, I would really like to experience the foods of that region. Now, when we go to the Caribbean, it's easy to experience fresh seafood, low carb, and that's not a problem. I can go and eat all the conch or fresh caught fish, or all that sort of stuff. I can do that without a problem because it's not doesn't have any carbs in it. But in Europe, a lot of things do. And I would really like to try out the local cuisine while I'm there. Now, I'm going to be, at that time, I'm going to be at least 1.5 years to maybe 2 years out of surgery. So I would have already reached maintenance phase, and maybe having, getting off the diet will be fine, and maybe I can get back on it, but I really don't know. But it's really something I'd want to do, just to experience the local cuisine. I mean, do you have any thoughts about that? Have you gone out of the country after you've had your surgery and done the same thing, or did you stick with your diet? Yeah, I'd really like to hear about that, because I think it's an interesting thought. So you can see, so on my body, all over the place today. On my body, my biggest problems in my mind are 2 things. The things that you can actually see. My neck, you can see it's got some getting kind of a turkey neck. Hopefully this extra loose skin will tighten up over time. And then the other thing, which you cannot see with my glasses on, is, or maybe you can't see it there, is that I have these like bags. And they're not exactly bags. It's actually where I've lost weight from my cheeks, and they've gotten smaller. And so I guess this was what my skin was actually supposed to look. They don't really stick out. They go in, but it's just darker. It's just darker than the rest of my face. And I didn't have this when I was heavier because my cheeks went up a lot farther, like that. Anyway, those are my two problems right now that I'm dealing with. Oh, and my hair. My hair is looking ratchet. I'm trying to grow it out to see what color it actually is, because I know that a lot of people's color and texture change after they have had, you know, the big hair loss that most of us get. And so I'm wanting to grow out the roots so I can see what color it is. And right now it's like entirely gray, which isn't a problem, but I just want to see what it is. But I think, you know, so I'm letting the color fade out of the hair, and this is just, ugh, it just looks bad. I actually get a lot of compliments on it still, but I just think it looks horrible. I need to get a haircut. I think that's the problem, is maybe if I had less hair that I was looking at long term having to grow out, that I would feel better about it. And, you know, summer's coming up, and not that this is a long hair or much hair, but, you know, maybe I'd feel better about it. Anyway, that's all I have to say this week. I hope everyone's doing great. I look forward to hearing from you. And please write and ask any questions, say any comments, whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.